Showings look simple from the renter side. Choose a time and send a request. Behind that screen, though, I see policy, availability, exceptions, invitations, appointments, and a team calendar. What must the property team configure first, and how do we keep a request from being mistaken for a confirmed appointment?
Start with the scheduling policy. Our fictional local example saves the Eastern Time Zone, a 30-day booking horizon, 7-day invitation expiration, a 7 a.m. reminder hour, and require confirmation by default. These are operating defaults, not promises that every request is already confirmed, and each organization should choose settings that match its real staffing practice. Today, we will follow the exact requested through confirmed path and then explain the application journey without exposing private applicant data. Next, build recurring availability. Name this rule North Star Weekly Tours. Choose the assigned administrator and 100 demo lane craftsmen, then select Thursday and Friday from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. The example begins July 15, 2026, ends August 14, 2026, repeats every week, and has capacity 1. A property scoped rule is easier to reason about here than an all properties rule.
The tour length is 30 minutes, and the buffer is 15 minutes. Is the appointment then 45 minutes long?
That is not the case. The tour itself remains 30 minutes. The 15-minute buffer is added before the next generated start, so this rule advances in 45-minute steps. The buffer creates breathing room between starts. It never extends the visitor-facing tour duration. Select Create recurring availability once, then verify the saved rule below the form. That persistence check matters more than assuming a button click succeeded.
I see the active dot, rule name, Thursday and Friday schedule, assigned administrator, property scope, and pause action. If I pause the rule later, should I treat that as the same thing as canceling a booked appointment?
That is not the case. Availability rules generate future open capacity. Appointments are distinct workflow records. The calendar combines appointments with remaining open capacity across assigned agents. Before adding an exception, our local July view shows the generated openings. The top cards summarize active appointments, while the month grid is where date-specific capacity becomes visible. Use the calendar to verify what visitors can choose, not merely what the recurring rule says should exist.
So the rule is the repeating plan, while the calendar is the materialized result for this month. That also means I should inspect the relevant dates after any change instead of judging only from the summary cards at the top.
Now add an exception on blackouts. Our one-time property inspection applies to the same administrator and property, beginning July 16, 2026 at 10 a.m. and ending at 11:15 a.m. The start and end must describe a valid time window. Property scope matters. Choose one property for a narrow exception or all properties only when the agent is unavailable across the portfolio.
Why use a blackout instead of shortening or deleting the recurring rule for that week?
Because the recurring rule describes the normal pattern while a blackout describes an exception. After selecting Add Blackout, the success notice and the saved property inspection entry prove the exception persisted. The entry also keeps its agent, property, and time scope visible for later review. The original weekly rule stays intact, which keeps the normal schedule understandable after the exception passes. An active blackout blocks overlapping future rule-generated slots. Pausing the blackout later can restore eligible future rule-generated capacity. It never deletes the availability rule, and this lesson never claims that adding a blackout cancels an already booked appointment. If a real appointment overlaps, handle that appointment through its own workflow and communicate with the attendee.
Back on the calendar, July 16th now shows 3 open times instead of 5. Is that the proof that the exception changed bookable capacity?
Yes, for this captured local state. The before and after calendar count is the visible result we needed. It shows that the exception changed the generated schedule without erasing the recurring rule. Do not generalize that number to every rule. Generated capacity depends on the rule window, tour length, buffer, capacity, agent, property, existing appointments, and any overlapping exceptions. Always verify the actual date on the calendar. On the fictional property page, leasing actions are intentionally distinct. Apply online begins the pre-qualification journey. Schedule a showing begins the tour request journey. Their placement on the same property page never merges their records or statuses. Neither button promises approval, availability beyond the displayed choices, or an automatically confirmed appointment. We will follow schedule a showing first.
That distinction is helpful. A visitor can be interested in touring without beginning an application, and someone can start the application journey without a tour being confirmed.
The public showing screen displays the property beside a blank request form. The visitor chooses one available time, then supplies name, email, phone, party size, optional notes, and consent. Only capacity. Eligible future times appear in the selector. We captured this before entry, so no visitor identity or contact information is visible. Times are shown in the property's local time.
The heading says the team will follow up to confirm. So when the visitor selects request this showing, the safe expectation is requested, not booked and guaranteed.
Exactly. The success notice says showing requested. It includes a private reference, which is hidden in this approved capture and never spoken in the tutorial. The form clears after acceptance, which avoids leaving submitted contact values on screen. A visitor-facing receipt proves the request was accepted, but we still need the administrator view to verify its workflow state.
And we should not read that private reference aloud, copy it into captions, or use it as decorative proof. The visible status message is enough to teach the public side of the transition.
Open appointments. The new card displays the public request as needs confirmation, which is the administrator label for requested. The badge is the state we are teaching, the identity is not. We have covered the requester, contact information, and reference with opaque privacy bars. The property, selected time, assigned administrator, and status remain visible because they explain the workflow without identifying the visitor.
Will a requested appointment consume capacity even before staff confirms it?
Yes. Requested and confirmed appointments both count against the slot's capacity, which helps prevent another person from taking the same full opening while staff follows up. Capacity protection never by itself sends a human confirmation. Expand. Manage appointment. Choose confirmed in the status control. Leave private notes blank for this lesson and select Save. We omit the distinct decline workflow entirely.
So the exact transition is public submission, requested in storage, needs confirmation in the administrator label, then a deliberate staff change to confirmed. We are not showing cancellation, decline, completion, or no-show states here.
After saving, the success notice says showing request updated and the card badge changes to confirmed. That is the persistence checkpoint for the staff action. In this workflow, changing to confirmed also triggers the configured confirmation behavior. The workflow change is auditable in the application, but this public tutorial stays on the visible appointment state and never exposes private event payloads or visitor details.
Confirmation is therefore a stored workflow change, not a color we assume from the calendar. We first verify the confirmed badge on the appointment itself.
Then return to calendar. The confirmed appointment appears at its selected time, while the same date shows 3 remaining open times. The requester name is hidden in our approved capture. The event links back to appointment operations for authorized staff. This screen verifies the downstream team view. One appointment occupies capacity, and the calendar still summarizes what remains available.
That gives us the complete showing proof, policy, recurring rule, exception, public request, needs confirmation, staff confirmation, and the confirmed calendar event. Each layer answers a different question.
Invitations are a related but distinct path. The blank form lets staff choose a property and assigned agent, enter invitee contact information, add an optional note, and either offer a fixed showing time or let the invitee choose from the schedule. Invitation expiration comes from scheduling policy. The confirmation checkbox controls whether the invitee must confirm before that appointment is marked confirmed.
We are not sending an invitation in this lesson, opening a private response link, or capturing a token. That keeps the distinction clear without exposing a credential, like URL, or creating another person-level workflow.
Now move to Application Settings. The guidance only notice is the governing rule. These settings organize information for staff and never automatically approve, deny, hide, or discard a submission. Full name, email, and phone are locked as enabled and required so the team can follow up. Each remaining item has its own enabled and required choices. Other household and finance questions can be configured for new applications.
If a question is enabled and required, that means the applicant must answer it before submission. That never means one particular answer automatically decides the application.
Portfolio guidelines and applicant messaging make that boundary visible. The local settings compare self-reported information with an income compared with rent guideline, can flag reported evictions or pet policy mismatches for conversation, and provide clear introduction and consent text. A review flag identifies a topic for staff discussion. It is not a hidden rejection rule. The optional portfolio credit score guideline is not configured in this capture.
The consent language also says pre-qualification never guarantees approval and never automatically declines anyone. Changes apply to new applications immediately, so the team should review the public wording before saving settings.
The public application begins with Step 1, Contact. This approved frame is blank. Full name, email, and phone have no applicant values. The left panel shows the fictional property's published qualification overview, while the introduction says this is not a final rental application or approval decision. The approximately 3-minute label sets a modest expectation, not a guaranteed completion time. The step bar previews Contact, Household, Finances, and Review.
Why keep the property overview visible beside the form?
It keeps the questions in property context, but it is still guidance rather than a verdict. Step 2 asks who will reside in the home, adult and child counts, plus whether pets will reside there. Helper text clarifies that adults are people age 18 or older, and that 0 should be entered when there are no children. This capture is privacy safe because it shows the blank or default controls, not a completed household profile.
And the page repeats. A conversation, not a verdict. That is a useful reminder not to turn one household answer into an automatic conclusion.
Step 3 is the financial snapshot. It asks for combined gross monthly income, an estimated credit score range, and prior eviction information when those questions are enabled. Income is labeled before taxes for all adults applying together. The warning is specific. Use self-reported information only as a starting point and do not enter Social Security, bank account, or identity document information here.
The credit control asks for an estimated range, not a credit check, and the eviction choice says staff can discuss context. Those labels support human follow-up instead of pretending the form has made a legal or screening decision.
Step 4 is Review. In our capture, the entire application snapshot is covered by an opaque privacy panel. What remains visible is the desired move-in field, the certification and consent boundary, send to leasing team, and the notice that no payment or sensitive identity information is collected here. The consent box must be an informed final action. Review is the last chance to correct answers before submission.
We can teach the structure without narrating any name, contact detail, household answer, income, credit range, eviction answer, pet answer, desired date, or internal reference. The private snapshot stays hidden.
After a valid submission, the page says application received and clears to the blank first step. The private application reference is covered and never spoken. The cleared form also prevents the completed answers from remaining visible in our public capture. A receipt proves the submission reached the workflow. It never means approved, declined, screened, or confirmed for a lease. Staff still performs the follow-up defined by the organization.
So the confirmation message is a submission receipt, just as showing requested was a request receipt. Neither should be expanded into an outcome the product has not recorded.
Finish in rental applications, but stay at the summary view. Our privacy-safe capture shows one total application, one new submission, and one needs conversation signal, while every application entry is hidden. We never open or describe the applicant detail page. The workflow status remains submitted. Needs conversation is distinct. Pre-qualification guidance. It never approves, denies, hides, discards, or changes the submission's workflow status.
Let me teach it back. Set policy, create recurring availability, verify the calendar, add narrow blackouts, and follow a public showing from requested to confirmed. Keep invitations distinct. Configure application questions as guidance, explain all 4 blank steps, treat receipts as receipts, and review only summary totals in a public tutorial. Verify each saved state before moving on. That is a controlled leasing journey in PropertyCMS.Click.